folks, Rob Dreemeyer here. Welcome to Broadway Barfly. If you're a theater fan who loves a great cocktail, click that subscribe button because Broadway Barfly is the channel for you. Hello Dolly opened on Broadway in 1964, but its basic plot of a well-to-do merchant looking for a wife was told many times in many plays many years earlier. The plot was first devised for a British play in 1835 called A Day Well Spent. The plot was used again in a German language play in 1842 called INQURIES machen. I think that's how you say it. And I am told that that loosely translates to he wants to have a good time. And it was that German play that served as the inspiration for Thornton Wilder's play The Merchant of Yonkers. The Merchant of Yonkers played on Broadway in 1938, but it was not a success. But several years later, Wilder was persuaded to take another stab at the play. He rewrote it and he retitled it The Matchmaker. The primary difference between the two plays is that in The Matchmaker, he moved the character Dolly Levi front and center. Dolly is a widow. She ekes out a living as a matchmaker, and she's been tasked to find a wife for Horace Vandegelder, the well-known half-a-millionaire from Yonkers, New York. Little does he know that she has the intentions of marrying Horace herself. The Matchmaker played on Broadway in 1955. It was produced by David Merrick, and it was a success. And it gave Merrick the idea that it would also make a great musical. And of course, in the long run, he was right. Hello Dolly was a huge Broadway hit. But it took a long and rocky road to get there. Merrick hired Gower Champion to direct, but only after a number of other directors had turned down the project. He cast Carol Channing to play Dolly Levi, but she was certainly not the first choice. She only got the role after a number of other stars had turned down the role. And the tryouts were so troubled that at one point Merrick considered firing the composer Jerry Herman. Now, by all accounts, the show finally came together when they added the song Before the Parade Passes By, which is the big first act finale where Dolly declares that she is rejoining the human race. Now, just before the song, Dolly gives what's often referred to as the oak leaf speech, and it was a monologue written by Thornton Wilder for The Matchmaker, and it was lifted almost verbatim and put into Hello Dolly. And in this speech, she's talking to her dead husband, Ephraim, and she says, "Let me go, Ephraim, it's been long enough." And she goes on to describe what her life has been like since he's passed away. She says how every night she puts out the cat, she locks the door, and she fixes herself a rum toddy and thanks God for her independence until one night an oak leaf falls out of her Bible. She put it there the day that Ephraim asked her to marry him, and she realizes that she is like this oak leaf, a perfectly good leaf, but without color and without life. Now, most people, when they think of Hello Dolly, picture Dolly in the red dress coming down the staircase at the Harmonia Gardens, but what they often forget is that it's in this beautiful speech written by Thornton Wilder where she actually gives herself the permission to do so. So we're going to take a look at what she was drinking every night before she went to bed. We're going to make a rum toddy. The drink known as the toddy has almost as many incarnations as the underlying story to Hello Dolly. There is a school of thought that says it was named after an Irish doctor, Robert Bentley Todd, in the 1880s, who was known for prescribing hot brandy with cinnamon and sugar to his patients. There is another school of thought that dates it back even farther to Scotland in the 1700s, where a toddy would have been made with Scotch whiskey and water from Todd's Well, which was the primary water source of Edinburgh at that time. And there is yet another school of thought that dates it back even farther to England in the 1600s, when Britain dominated trade with India, and that the drink was derived from an Indian drink called a toddy, which was a Hindi word for some sort of concoction made by boiling down and fermenting palm sap. Who knew? Anyway, we will probably never know which is true, but it's almost certain that the drink was introduced to the US by the colonists who brought it here with them. The primary difference between the European version and the American version in those early days would have been substituting the Scotch or the brandy with rum, because rum was much more readily available here in the States at the time, and it was so because rum was a significant part of the slave trade of the day. Now, a toddy does fulfill all the requirements for a cocktail. It has all the necessary elements. It has spirit, water, sugar, though usually in the form of honey or sometimes maple syrup, and bitters, though the bitters are usually replaced by actual spices. And of course, it's usually garnished with a lemon. And you can definitely enjoy a toddy as a cocktail, but people often take it for its medicinal purposes. Sometimes we kind of laugh that off, but there is some logic and even some science to back up its effectiveness. Honey and hot water will soothe a sore throat. Lemon is an excellent source of vitamin C. Cinnamon is known to have expectorant properties. And of course, alcohol is a natural sedative. So the next time you're feeling under the weather, don't reach for the NyQuil. Make yourself a toddy. We are going to make our hot toddy, our rum toddy, right in the mug. And we're going to start off with 2 generous ounces of rum. Now, of course, you could also use whiskey or brandy if that was your spirit of choice. We are going to then add an ounce of lemon juice and about 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm not going to measure it, I'm going to just eyeball it. And you could adjust all of these ingredients to your taste. And then we're going to fill the mug the rest of the way with some boiling water. And then we just stir until all of the honey is dissolved. And then finally, we are going to garnish with lemon and a cinnamon stick. And there we have our hot rum toddy. If you enjoyed the video, why not give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends? Feel free to leave your comments and click that subscribe button because there's a lot more Broadway Barfly to come.